We are here at North Point today, just at the northern end of Gracetown. And we have another big clash for you here in the first round. We've got Matt Wilkinson out there in the red. Miguel Pupo will be in the blue. Jack Freestone in the white jersey. Ronnie Blakey joined by a former Big Wave Tour champion, Peter Mel. How are you, Pete?
Good morning, Ronnie, and good morning, everyone. We are here at the beautiful Western Australia, the state of WA. Very proud state of all of their heritage here, and a stark contrast, like I had mentioned this morning, to the east coast of Australia. Even with swell, the rawness of the reefs and the ocean, but the wide open spaces is really what catches my eye.
Some movement out here at the moment, and taking off is your current world number 2, Matt Wilkinson, driving off the bottom, but stalling, grabbing that rail, not getting too much cover there, and he jumps off as the wave shuts down.
You've got these bigger sets that break significantly far outside, just like we saw there. But then there's directly inside of that, there's that inside ledge barrel, which we saw Kelly pick up a score there. And then to your left, another 30 or 40 meters, there's another wave that you can catch on the inside. So you got to be able to move around and see it, feel it, and make those adjustments during the heat.
I think Kelly's veteran status really came into play in that first heat. While we all had high expectations of that clash, he had low expectations of the conditions and knew the swell hadn't fully arrived yet, went on the hung on the inside, it paid off in the end. The second heat, there was a little sign of what could be to come. Kalohe Andino getting the win there. Matt Wilkinson wanting to get started early here, Pete.
And I think it's a good call. Get started early.
Jack Freestone up now. Just a nice snap to get himself down the line. Just smooth surfing, putting a little bit more power into that last move as he kicks out on the inside. Just over 30 minutes remaining.
You know, it's neat too is that if you're not in that first heat, you're kind of that guinea pig heat, you get to kind of see what works and what adjustments have been paying off. You know, Kalohe being able to pick up that one clean, solid wave. He tried to find a smaller inside backup, only came up with a 177, but he did take the heat win. He's going to move into round 3. Here, a little bit earlier start for these guys, and I think always when you have inconsistent conditions, you're going to want to see yourself get those quicker starts, be able to get those scores on the board early, so then you can kind of start playing patience and wait for that one significant good wave that's going to happen.
And he hasn't ridden a wave just yet. Keep an eye on Jack Freestone here, making a move on this one. So looking for something big on the inside, has some speed to throw it above the lip, but the wind just got a hold of his board there and pulled it away from his body.
Well, that's that technique. You know, he was smart, getting that front side grab in, trying to plant that board under his feet. You know, the wind's blowing offshore. It's not that optimum. We talk about it kind of clocking around to that more southern direction, which would be kind of side off. That time you can kind of go plant that board into the wind. Here you almost have to project out into the wind, into the flats, and it's difficult to do, you know, especially if you don't have a nice big steep section to allow you to kind of poke that thing back towards the beach. See the technique here from him? Like you said, he's got it on lock. Got the grab, but the front foot just a little bit shifted off, and then there had to bail out. Wasn't able to complete the rotation.
That offshore wind just playing havoc with his equipment there. North Point's just such a good airwave, one of the best. That aggression was back. And
sparks.
It looked like he was just on a great board, and obviously the results speak for themselves, but one of the more aggressive competitors in the draw in that first event. Here we go. Jack Freestone on a smaller insider, but that doesn't mean he can't convert it into big numbers. He'll throw a little reverse here, gets a little hung up in the white water though.
You know, the other part, you know, where we had touched on, Fiji was a prime example where, you know, we had never seen him able to get out of that round 3.
Really cool to see that all come into play. I was going to ask you that, what your experience was at North Point, because all I've been seeing is video clips of guys doing massive alley-oops, all these great maneuvers that I know you love to do. Were you kind of jumping out of your skin this morning in anticipation of doing your favorite kind of surfing today?
Well, yeah, definitely really excited. You know, everyone was coming 8 to 10 foot big barrels, so it's like, oh, I could barely sleep. You know, it was really exciting, but yeah, we showed up and it was a lot smaller than everyone thought. I think the direction's a little funky for it. And yeah, so the other day was my first time surfing out there. And it was actually really hard because it was on shore and it wasn't barreling when I was surfing out. And so you just get a bunch of speed and then you just try like a 30-foot kick out and then nowhere to land, so you just don't try to make it. But that was basically the only time I ever surfed out there, and I've never even gotten a barrel out there or anything. So it was cool though. I mean, it was. I'm just really stoked I got a barrel, really, because it's difficult out there.
And there's also now we had the hype of North Point today. Talk of the box maybe even tomorrow. Does that get you excited to change venues like that, especially to a crazy slab out west here?
Yeah, I mean, whenever you're getting tubed, especially in the heat with no one out, and it's perfect, you know, the box out here, chokes, back door, pipe, you know, just whenever you're getting barreled, you just like, you really got to take it in and soak it up, because it's a special moment to be getting drained in the heat. It's rad. So
thinking about where you are now, Kolohe, coming off your best year on tour, do you feel like you have rivals on tour? Sometimes it feels like maybe we try to create those stories. Does it feel that way now, or does it still feel like the camaraderie is there and you're just trying to get the best ways of your life?
For me, I know everyone else jives different. Maybe they want that tension. Maybe they want that behind the scenes kind of vibes. But for me, I don't want to give anyone another reason to want to beat me. So I just try to do my own thing and give everyone the time of day and help them out or whatever, you know, say hello and take my turn in the lineup, things like that, you know. I think it's
I wasn't even sure that was actually connected, that hair, to the skin on his face.
What do you think?
I'm sure if he puts his window down on the way back to Margaret River later, it might blow off. But definitely, I think he talked it down a little bit. I think he's strong at main break.
I do too.
Running here with Pete Mel, and Pete, during the break, we had a bit of an exchange out here.
Well, it was on the inside little ledge. Jack Freestone found himself a nice little clean barrel. Of course, only earns a 2.93, but it does go into his top two. He was able to improve on that 1.23, so he added a 1.5 to his total.
I just can't see anyone out surfing Geordie Smith. Tactically, they might get him, but his surfing at that location is second to none. Here we go, Matt Wilkinson up on a bigger wave, the biggest of this heat. And he was hanging on that bottom turn. I thought he was going to give it a bit of a bash for us. That was one of the steeper sections, and we know that backhand definitely has some fireworks.
So interesting, because I think there was that timing issue where he felt like he was a little bit late. You know, you want to be there, especially on those bigger ones. You want to be just early enough so you can have that hook, but he was going to have to lay into that thing, and it was already kind of starting to come at him. It would have been a very, very difficult section to blast. And I think there's an opportunity. Actually, I know there was an opportunity lost right there. That was a major set wave. He had the priority. It was begging to be blasted.
He was hanging for it. Let's have another look.
Again, sizable set wave here. Nice double overhead. Drops in, gets the carve, you know, and this is the combo. Goes up to late. You can see that section was there, and maybe even a little bit of that adjustment. You know, when he's going up the face, there was a little bit of dig of the rail, which will hold that board in a position where you can't get it to transition for you, and it felt like that might have been the case as well.
Definitely a different.
If you've got priority, you've got to wait for the big ones and then being in the right spot. A good set came before. Wilco was out of position. He then waited, got another good one, but it was one of those ones that sectioned off. So talk about chess matches. I think now is about as hard a conditions to compete in as we may have seen in quite some time. There's an unpredictable nature to the ocean. The wind's blustery, but where I'm standing, it's beautiful here on the rocks. It's much easier from here than out in the water, and seeing the guys trying to interpret what is going on and trying to interpret a brand new break with an interesting swell that seems to be declining is really throwing some curveballs at them. Here's Miguel up and riding on a double up. This looks like a good one, boys.
Grabbing that rail and setting his line through the pit, but just gets clamped on the end section there. Miguel trying to find the exit. He pops up and gets out of there. Button's spot on though. This is such a different day of competition for these surfers. They're so comfortable with the schedule, and I feel like the surfers that have been aspiring for years to get to this point, you know, he's going to be trying to get out of the way of it. It's going to be breaking on his head, but he's willing to take that chance because he's only chasing a 3.83 at this point in time. Jack Freestone up at the moment, has some speed, and he is going to use it on a nice vertical hit there. Clean float, little tail drop.
That was interesting to me because he did have priority, and so he never at any point wanted to go, you know what, I'm going to go out where Wilco is with priority and take a bigger set wave. He ultimately is saying with 2 minutes to go, I am going to better that 293. I am going to make sure that I add points to my total and use that as his strategy in this heat. Let's see if it pays off.
So alternatively, he got to use that priority and go on and sat with Matt Wilkinson and kept him off a set wave.
that is, I mean, if you're to look at different strategies, but in his point right here, he's liking this inside. Maybe the higher tide, he's like, you know what, there's not going to be an outside bigger one again. I'm just going to go and collect on the inside here. Gets 2 maneuvers, you know, trying to better a 2.93. That's not going to go, you know, upwards of probably a 4. So he's only going to be adding a point, if that. Riding waves, and that is what he felt is going to be the best and most comfortable way to do it. I mean, he rode 8 waves in this heat. He doubled, tripled everyone else.
He wasn't able to fight his way out of the second round on the Gold Coast, one of his pet events. But Jack Freestone's going to get the round 1 win here, directly move to round 3.